Here we go. We're live. So, welcome back to the big board. It's been a while since I've done a live session. I actually believe that I have decent internet connection and relatively okay lighting. And I'm here by myself in the barn. So, we're going to try and just talk through a little bit of Glory and Empire First Victories and just look at this very small portion. Look at the Battle of, I say Rolica, but it's Holissa. And just have a look at it. Picking up the conflict part of the way through. It's just the second scenario in the scenario book for this particular battle. And it's interesting that there are actually multiple scenarios for each. Vimerio also has multiple scenarios as well. And so the scenario book, along with all the history and background and flavor and all the rest of it, is ginormous, if that word could be used. Even with the big print, there's a lot of industrial scale reading to go through. That's all pretty fascinating. Here's the setup chart. So you'll have your brigades from the British, and then the French get up, sort of set up in a pretty broad area. So we've now done that, found all the bits. This particular copy that I received, this pre-production copy, I think was actually David Heath's, and so some of it was partially punched, and I wasn't. It took a little bit of time to organize things, and because I think he kind of got frustrated with it and put it all in a baggie. Tisk, David. I'm going to talk to you about your counter trade organization. There's a nice setup chart that comes with the game and with each battle. Well, not with each battle, but for this particular event here, we've got the commanders and their command ranges to their units and all this sort of good stuff. The assets that can be allocated across the various formations, the different brigades, right? And you can kind of go for it from there. But what I thought, no, I have read a little bit about this battle. I really kind of focused more on Vermeero at one point. Hey, Philippe, good to see you. By the way, if you're just joining in, I know there's only a couple of you here because I didn't pre-schedule this. It's just a sort of off-the-cuff thing. Say hi. So I've not read all of the historical background, and I intend to do so before playing. That comes with the game, right? All the scenarios and options and various bits and pieces in here. This scenario book also includes the solo assistant rules in there as well. So there's some additional stuff that is not in the primary core rule book. So it's a little bit thicker than it perhaps looks than I said. So anyway, the British are attempting to in essence, annihilate the French here by they've pushed them out of the township, the village, through the Portuguese countryside, up into the hills, across this little, I would call it a stream. Is it a stream? Yes, a stream, minor river. Across this minor river here, this little bridge right here, and Delaborde has set himself up here. This is the way I'm going to set it up for the moment anyway, in a defensive perimeter. And the objective here, I believe, is, I have to double check it all, but it's get the French off the map. Now, the challenge, obviously, this is light cover terrain, so it's not, I would call it scrub, I think is what the technical term is on the map, scrub. And then you've got woods here, and that's basically it. And then all these different grade of colors here are obviously elevations. Yeah. And tell me if you can see and hear okay. I can zoom in a little bit here. It just gets it to be a little bit of a challenge when we start zooming in and out. And there goes the camera sagging. Wonderful. So we'll just zoom down here a bit. Yeah, I knew that would happen. There we go. All right, I'm pinching on my phone to zoom, so highly professional. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brigades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brigades, and some divisional assets in the background. And the goal here is for us to work out how we can engage these guys quickly enough so that they cannot exit the map. But come 2 p.m. or so, we also get another 2 brigades. Ferguson and Bowes will arrive in this zone here. It's called Zone E or Area E. So they have a chance to, if I can just move the entire camera stand, so to cut off the exit and the retreat for the French. So I think what's going to need to happen is that we're going to have to be fairly aggressive with our approach, get these guys engaged in some way, shape, or form so they can't run away. And so my thinking was, for the British in particular, given that they're on the offensive, the French are probably going to sort of sit back a little bit and work out what to do. Bring these Portuguese guys who don't have particularly great morale. They're in the 40s and 50s range, meaning that anytime they have to do a morale check, they've basically got, it's a D100 system. So you're going to have a 50% chance of them being shaken or worse, right? So, but what I was going to try and do is keep them out of the fray, but move them up around on the flank here. Let's just see if we can zoom angle down here for you. And put some pressure on Brenier so that he can't move back and attempt to cover the reinforcements that are coming from the right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, with, let's see, the 1st and 3rd brigades will push up pretty aggressively, get into this village, get situated, maybe put one of this artillery unit in here, and I'm probably going to, I've got the artillery that's in the distance that's a let's call them a core or divisional asset, one of Wellesley's assets. We're going to bring these up and attach them to this brigade and then set them up somewhere, I don't know, either here or maybe even in the village, and fire up on the hill and see what sort of damage we can cause to the French, to shake them up a little bit, and then allow us to try and cross these 2 minor rivers, which are going to force us to do some morale checks for disordering and whatnot. But these, as you can see, the British are much, much higher rated. They're 33s and 30s, although there's a couple of 37s there. So they only have, basically a 1 in 3 chance of disordering. So that's Hill's formation. And then we've got Nightingale and Crawford behind them. And we'll keep British 5th Brigade in reserve. I'm going to move them onto the road and have them stage here to either come and reinforce in an effort across the bridge, which is what we'll do with Nightingale. We'll bring him down and across the bridge and see what we can do there, what sort of damage we can cause. And then over on this side of the map, there's another brigade here, Fane, and his units are pretty solid as well, but they also have a couple of pieces of artillery. So we can bring them to bear. Who is that artillery chap? Where is Fane? Brigade, 2nd Brigade. Yeah, Geary. Why have I got 2? There should only be 1. Okay, I need to check that. There's a mistake there. Should only be 1 piece of artillery. So we've got Fane's formation here. I was going to set these guys up, see if we can't disrupt or move this cavalry, which is covering the flank. We'll get to the French in a second. Disrupt them or move them off, and then take pot shots at the artillery, which is covering this approach. Now, so if we pull up this way and pull up on the left flank, that might give us a chance to pocket these guys and set 2 on them, right? So particularly with these reinforcements coming along in a little bit. Now for the French, given that we had very loose setup instructions, I think, that was where I need to read the historical for this particular scenario, understand what the French actually did do and what their choices were, yeah? And so what I have done is set up in this light scrub here, and going to then, use this river as a bit of a barrier, hopefully. And as you can see, all my French are quite well, have decent morale in Thomier's group. They're all 35s, 36s. And then Rainier is less robust in the 40, his guys, all 41 actually. And so they're on the left flank. And, that actually will be a nice matchup because they'll be taking on the less capable Portuguese potentially. So I'm thinking that's what we'll do. And then we can sort of retire back up the hill if that is indeed possible. There's a little military crest here. We can kind of hunker down there and see what happens. There's also a road here for our exit. And let me just pull up the victory conditions again, because I have been messing around with this for the last couple of days, and I can't recall what off the top of my head, because this was an impulse decision of me to go live. Here we go. Note, victory conditions. If the French eliminate either of the 2 British train units, increase French victory 1 level. Yeah, good luck with that. British minor victory, inflict at least 3 step losses. Major victory, 5 step losses. Prevent any French units from exiting the map will give us a decisive victory. And the French voluntarily exit all surviving units off the south edge of the map, which is this edge here. And then the major victory would be blah, 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 without any step losses. And a decisive victory is removing all the units off the south edge without any step losses and inflict 3 or more step losses on the British or Portuguese units. Right, but here's the catch. No French unit may voluntarily exit the map before the start of the 2:20 p.m. turn, which also happens to be around about the same time as the reinforcements come for the British. Very nice. To successfully exit the south edge of the play, units must voluntarily exit a hex in row XX27, which is obviously going to be the edge of the map. If they do not have 1 MP remaining, they will exit on the following turn. So let's look at the map. I'm going to set this down here like this. So British reinforcements coming on or around the 2 p.m. turn. Let me just, 2:30 is it? 2:40. There we go. 2:40 reinforcements come in this way. I see a chicken walking by my window. Very funny. The British are raid and have pressed in on this direction, and the French have retreated, and they're now making a little bit of a stand here and looking to sort of gather themselves and then make an exit, I guess, is what's going on. And that's kind of the situation. So if you're just joining or have joined, please say hello. I see there's 5 or 6 of you here, so that's nice. Right. I've got all the Brits and Portuguese set up in column formation so that they're facing the hex side versus the vertex, and they're all ready to rock and roll and go. And we've got Wellesley's core assets off camera at the top of the camera, and I've got all of my French units arrayed in line, as you can see. I don't think there'll be very many cavalry charges here, this particular scenario. Hey, Eric, how you doing, man? Eric, you can maybe tell us all about the battle. I'm sure you've played not this particular scenario with this system, but you've probably played this scenario before. And also, I'm just trying to assess how to set these guys up and where the best places are, locations are for the forces. Eric, I'm looking forward to your playthrough, actually, of this. And we encourage everybody to go check out Eric's Napoleonic Battles table. Or Eric's table, I should say. He's focused in on La Bataille system and Napoleonics in general, and I believe he also has a copy of this game. So I'm sure he'll be playing it in the near future. We'll get his insights on all of that. He'll be probably doing all the seriously advanced stuff. I'll be just using the basic rules for the time being and mispronouncing everything. So we've got, as I said, I'm pretty much getting ready to wrap this up here, but we've got the French arrayed in line with this flank refused here, and we'll be looking to advance all of the British up, keeping 1 brigade in reserve situated on the road here. I think the French, if this artillery here can hold or stand at this military crest, it's got some nice coverage on the approaches here. They'll be able to fire through into this area, so hopefully we'll be able to inflict some damage on the Brits as they attempt to close here. And we've got the more heavy terrain here that will probably slow folks down slow the British down a little bit. Now the scenario starts at 12, I believe. Is it 12? I should just check real quick. I think it is. Flip over the page. Yes, 12 p.m. till 4 p.m. There are 3 turns per hour. So we have got 6, we're going to have 9 turns that we're going to need to hold as the French before we can even begin thinking about trying to exit the map. And then we will need to make some sort of aggressive retreat movement leading up to that. So probably around the 1:30 time frame, assuming that we aren't all in disarray immediately. We'll be looking to try and move ourselves back so that come 2:20, 2:40, 3 p.m., we'll be able to then exit off the map and do a runner, as they say. So that's the game plan. I've got to work out which one of these 2 units in the distance here belongs in that hex. I've got 2 there, and there should only be 1. Got all the artillery limbered up because they're at long range at the moment. So I want to close them up a little bit, at least get them into effective range. They will be able to fire directly across from this height into this height here. And then obviously here they'll be shooting uphill, but that doesn't necessarily affect anything in the basic game. I have not read the artillery rules in detail for the brigadier level. I've been focusing on the grand tactical formations for the brigadier level of the system, and I'm finding it to be very, very interesting and probably not very useful in this particular scenario. I think that might be better used for Vimerio. Now, unfortunately, my copy of the game that I have received did not come with the Vimerio map. Otherwise, we'd probably be playing that because I've actually played that before in another system. And so I have some, at least, familiarity with the battle and the flow of the battle, although that was a long time ago. But the good news is it's coming. The map is indeed on its way. They're sending me a copy of it that they forgot to pack. I've got 3 copies of this map, which is quite cute. 3 different versions of the map, in fact. Different quality and thickness of paper. You can see on the corners here on the sides of this is quite a heavy stock, and it's got a gloss, soft finish to it, but the maps are curling up on the edges here. So you would need to put Plex down to play effectively. And the creases, despite backfolding, are still going to pop up. But beautiful paper, nice maps. I've got, I guess we don't really need to get the other ones out because I don't know which paper Lock Publishing has actually settled on using. So there's that. Hey, Tony, good to see you. Oh, Eric, I'm sorry to hear that we're not able to get a play in. Well, then I guess it'll be me playing. So we'll see. We'll see if we can bastardize this completely and ruin it for everybody. But nevertheless, here we go. So I will check back in later on. I'm going to go check my scenario setup instructions for this wayward artillery unit, and then we'll run through the sequence of play. Yeah, Eric, I think that, all right, you know what I'll do? I'll pull out all these different types of map, just since we're talking about it here, and probably some interest. I don't, once again, I don't know what the specific map paper will be because I know they were making choices in that. So this is a much more flexible version, and then you've got this stiff. This is literally almost a cardboard style flex to it. Very heavy weight. There's that. I don't want to put this. Well, you know what? We could do that. We can just put this down here. And then this is a third one, and this is a different weight yet again. This is even heavier on the weight scale, I guess, at least for this particular print run. So pre-production run. So they've got multiple types of paper that they were experimenting with. What the final versions will be. We don't know, or I don't know. And I'm sure they've made some choices about that. I know they were also doing some editing to the rules in terms of layout, given that they take a spiral bound approach to the rule books, which is really nice, actually. I prefer that because I can do this with you, right? I can fold the pages over and we're not losing anything. Pages are so then they were adjusting all the spacing here in the core rule book. But beautiful presentation. The counters are lovely. I mean, if you like L'Avatar, you're going to love the artwork on these counters. And while these are a little bit busier, because there's all the information is on the front, which I like, but nevertheless, you've got them busy, but they're a larger counter too, so they're quite substantially sized here. Really pretty, very nicely done. All right, so I didn't want to get into too much else of the game system, and I obviously don't want to start just yet because I will no doubt have interruptions coming along any minute now with folks returning back to our property here. So I hope that gave you, let me see. The maps are beautiful, Mike. They're wonderful GIS-based topos. So they are very accurate, number one, and number two, then backed up by a lot of historical research to, for any changes that may have happened over the last several hundred years. Would it be several hundred? It would be 200. So that's not several, that's a couple hundred years. So 300 years. So we would, you can expect to see this sort of high quality. I am also, I think I'm receiving a canvas version of this as well. So when it arrives, I'll show that to you. I'll pop online and give you a quick little look at it. But this should be a lot of fun here to going with the game. Very straightforward with the basic system. It reminds me of, I'm trying to think of the name of the system to get it correct. It's the Hexasim Rising Eagles, but at brigade level, I think, or is it Rising Eagles? Something like that. It reminds me of that system in terms of the mechanical sort of combat aspects and movement aspects. You've got to, keep track. There's a few more things to keep track of, obviously, because you're at the brigade level. But I'm enjoying what I've read so far, and I have played with this on Vassal about, 2 years ago. A few things have changed, so I'm just making sure I am going to approach this correctly and give you an accurate play of everything. Rising Eagles, thank you. And yes, so that Eagles system is indeed regimental or regimental level, not divisional level, I believe. So there's that. I've played the NLB system from MMP, from Multiman Publishing. I've obviously played you've seen it probably before, La Retour of the Emperor. That's from Pratzen Editions. I've played that tactical system. There's lots of things I like about that system. There's a lot of things that just sort of tweak me as well. I've got Decision Games reboot of Wellington's Victory sitting up on the shelf, and I've ignored that for a while because I've had a couple of false starts with it. So I've got a little bit of exposure. Obviously, I played the Zucker's system quite a bit, and I'm a modest fan of that, more at the operational scale than the pseudo tactical scale, which they claim to have. So anyway, there we have it. All right, Stephen, good to see you, my friend. All right, folks. Look, I am going to let you go because I'm concerned that I'm going to have to cut this short with folks returning back to the house and interrupting my pontification. All right, I will catch all of you soon. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to see 15 to 20 of you rolling in here just to have a quick look. And that makes me happy that everybody has had a chance to have a quick look here. Hope you enjoyed the video. More to come.